Crystal chandeliers scattered light across marble as Harrison Blackwell stared into his scotch. The amber liquid swirled, hypnotic, meaningless. That's 8 women in 2 years. Thomas pushed his glasses up, concern cutting lines into his forehead. Maybe the problem isn't them. Harrison's jaw tightened. 42 years old, $3 billion. 3 Forbes covers. 0 answers. Every woman sees dollar signs, Harrison said, his voice ice. They smile at the billionaire. Not the man who burns toast and watches terrible sci-fi movies. David, their patent attorney friend, leaned back. You attract what you're looking for. Country clubs, galas, investor conferences. You're fishing in a pool of gold diggers. Fine. Harrison set down his glass with surgical precision. Then I'll prove it scientifically. $1 million says you can't find a single woman in this city who could spend one night with me, hearing my unfiltered thoughts, without running away or asking for money. Thomas nearly choked. You're betting you're intolerable, betting people are predictable. 3 floors below, Olivia Carter pushed her cleaning cart through empty hallways, earbuds playing a psychology podcast. At 28, her social work degree gathered dust while medical bills devoured her life. Her brother Ethan, 16 and brilliant, was dying slowly from an autoimmune disorder the insurance wouldn't cover. She was emptying trash near the executive lounge when 3 words stopped her cold. $1 million. Her hands shook on the cart handle. That amount would save Ethan. 2 years of treatments. 2 years of breathing without drowning in impossible choices. The logical part of her brain screamed danger. The desperate part made her feet move toward the executive elevator. The penthouse doors opened to floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive minimalism. Harrison Blackwell turned, surprise shifting to annoyance. How did you get up here? My supervisor keycard works on all floors. Olivia stepped forward, forcing confidence she didn't feel. I'm Olivia Carter. I clean the offices downstairs. I overheard your conversation. You were eavesdropping. You were talking loudly in a semi-public space. There's a difference. She met his gaze. I heard about your bet. Harrison's eyes narrowed. You came here to lecture me. No. Her voice dropped to something quiet and dangerous. I came here to say yes. Silence stretched between them like a blade. You understand what you're agreeing to? Harrison studied her cleaning uniform, her ponytail, her worn sneakers. One night, answering questions, listening to my unfiltered opinions. I won't be polite. I won't pretend. I understand. When do we start? Harrison glanced at his watch. 11:47 p.m. We continue until sunrise. 6.5 hours. No physical contact. No humiliation. I can be brutally honest, but I'm not cruel. Then I accept your challenge, Mr. Blackwell. Harrison, he corrected. If we're spending 6 hours together, use my first name. He paused. Can I ask why you need the money? My younger brother has a serious medical condition. The treatments are bankrupting us. She didn't elaborate. Didn't weaponize tragedy for sympathy. Just stated facts. Harrison walked to the bar, poured 2 glasses of water. You're not going to tell me about his favorite stuffed animal? His dreams of becoming a doctor? Would that work? No, but most people would try anyway. He gestured to the seating area. Sit. Let me explain how I see the world. And you can decide whether my cynicism is justified or just. Bitterness. Olivia sat on the edge of a chair. That cost more than 3 months of her salary. Listening. Harrison began with his theory that all relationships involving wealth were fundamentally transactional. Olivia countered with questions about sample size, selection bias, self-fulfilling prophecies. They debated philosophy, economics, privilege and responsibility, and slowly, without either realizing it, something shifted. The adversarial dynamic became something more interesting. Something neither had expected, something that might actually be real. The clock passed midnight. City lights twinkled below like distant stars. Tell me about your brother, Harrison said, refilling their water glasses. not the medical situation. Tell me about him as a person. Olivia tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Ethan's brilliant, stubborn, has a terrible sense of humor that somehow makes everyone laugh. Before he got sick, he played chess competitively. Now he spends most of his energy just getting through school without his classmates noticing how tired he is. He hides his condition. Teenagers want to be normal more than anything. Ethan doesn't want to be the sick kid everyone pities. Pride and sadness mixed in her voice. He got accepted into a summer math program at the University of Washington. Full scholarship. But the timing conflicts with his treatment schedule. Harrison leaned forward. And you'll make him choose the treatments. I'll make sure he survives long enough to have other summers. Even if he resents me for it right now, it must be incredibly lonely. Making life-altering decisions for someone you love, knowing they might hate you for those choices. The observation cut deeper than Olivia expected. She studied his face, seeing past expensive haircuts to exhaustion underneath. You've made those kinds of decisions before. Harrison stood and walked to the window, his reflection ghostly against the city. My wife Claire was diagnosed with ovarian cancer 7 years ago. Stage 4. The doctors gave her 18 months. Olivia's breath caught. Nothing in her research mentioned a wife. Claire was a painter, Harrison continued, voice distant. Abstract expressionism. Her work was starting to gain recognition when she got sick. She wanted to spend her remaining time creating, traveling, living whatever life she had left on her own terms. But you pushed for treatment. I pushed for every experimental therapy, every clinical trial, every possible intervention. I threw money at the problem like I could buy her more time. His hands clenched into fists. And I did buy her more time. 19 months instead of 18. 19 months of nausea, exhaustion, hospital rooms, instead of art studios and beaches. She resented you for it. She tried not to. Claire was kind even when I didn't deserve it. But yes, toward the end there was resentment. I had stolen her death from her, turned it into a medical battle she never wanted to fight. He turned to face Olivia, raw pain in his eyes. She died 4 years ago. I haven't opened her studio since. Haven't touched her paintings. The admission created fragile intimacy in the room. Olivia recognized the specific grief of losing someone while questioning every decision you made. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. Harrison's voice hardened again, walls rebuilding. It's why I know what I know about people, about relationships and money and the lies we tell ourselves. Claire loved me before the billions. Everyone after her has been a calculation. That's not fair to her memory. What? Olivia stood, meeting his gaze. Using your grief as an excuse to be cynical? Claire loved you, despite your flaws, and you're dishonoring that by assuming no one else ever could. You're not protecting yourself. You're punishing yourself. Anger flashed across Harrison's face. You don't know anything about me? I know you make bets about human nature to prove you're right about being alone. I know you surround yourself with people who'll never challenge you. And I know you're terrified that someone might actually see past the money to the man who still grieves his wife. This was a mistake. Harrison's voice turned to ice. You should leave. Why? Because I'm not playing your game? Because I won't let you hide behind your cynicism? Because you're supposed to tolerate my unfiltered opinions, not psychoanalyze me. Then here's my unfiltered opinion. Olivia stepped closer. You're not cruel. You're not even that cynical. You're just scared. And you've convinced yourself that being right about people's motivations is better than risking. Being wrong about one person who might actually care. Silence stretched between them. Electric and dangerous. Harrison's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and something in his expression shifted. Fear, guilt, something darker. I need to take this call. Stay here. He disappeared into another room, door clicking shut. Olivia stood alone in the penthouse, heart racing. Through the crack in the door, she heard fragments of conversation. I told you not to call tonight. I pause. The bet's still on. Yes, she's here. Another pause. Longer. She doesn't know anything. Just keep your mouth shut and collect your share when this is over. The words hit Olivia like ice water. Your share. This wasn't a real bet. It was staged. A setup. Harrison returned, composure restored, unaware she'd heard anything. Sorry about that. Where were we? Olivia forced her expression neutral, mind racing. You were about to tell me more about why you think all relationships are transactional. Now she wondered what transaction she'd actually walked into and whether the $1 million was ever real at all. Olivia's mind spun with calculations. Keep your mouth shut and collect your share. The words echoed like a death knell. She had two choices. Walk out now with nothing, or play along and figure out what game she'd stumbled into. Ethan's face flashed in her mind. His tired smile. His pretending everything was fine. She stayed. You look pale, Harrison said, studying her. Need something stronger than water? I'm fine. Just thinking about what you said. About Claire. Harrison settled back into his chair, guard lowering slightly. I don't usually talk about her. Why did you tonight? I don't know. He ran a hand through his hair. Maybe because you're the first person in years who doesn't look at me like a walking investment opportunity. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so cruel. Olivia leaned forward. Tell me something. This bet with your friends. Was it really spontaneous? Or have you done this before? Harrison's expression flickered. Just for a second. What are you implying? I'm implying that you're a man who doesn't do anything without calculating the outcome. A man who built a $3 billion empire through strategy, not impulse. So I'm wondering if this whole setup is really about proving a point, or if it's about something else entirely. You're paranoid? I'm observant. There's a difference. Harrison stood abruptly. It's 2 a.m. We still have 4 hours left. I'm going to order food. You must be hungry. He walked toward the kitchen, but Olivia caught his wrist. The first physical contact between them. His skin was warm, pulse racing beneath her fingers. Don't lie to me, Harrison. Whatever this is, I deserve to know. He stared at her hand on his wrist, then slowly met her eyes. For a moment, she saw something real there. Conflict. Maybe even regret. You should have stayed downstairs, he said quietly. But I didn't, so now what? Before he could answer, the penthouse elevator chimed. The doors opened, revealing Thomas and David, both looking uncomfortable. Harrison. Thomas stepped forward. We need to talk. Now. Not now. We had an agreement. The agreement's off. David's voice was sharp. She needs to leave. Olivia stood slowly. What's going on? Nothing that concerns you, Thomas said, not meeting her eyes. Except it does concern me, doesn't it? Olivia turned to Harrison. Because I overheard your phone call. Someone's getting a share of something. And your friends look guilty as hell. Harrison's jaw tightened. Olivia, tell me the truth. Is the $1 million real? Silence. David laughed, bitter and sharp. Oh, she doesn't know. You didn't tell her. Shut up, David. Tell her what? Olivia's voice rose. That this whole thing is fake. That you're all in on some sick joke. It's not a joke. Harrison's voice cut through the tension. The money's real. But the bet isn't what you think it is. Thomas stepped forward. We should have stopped this before it started. Harrison, she deserves to know. Know what? Olivia demanded. Harrison met her gaze, and she saw the truth written in his expression before he even spoke. The bet wasn't about whether a woman could tolerate my opinions. It was about whether I could make someone fall for me in one night, then walk away. Prove that emotional manipulation is just another transaction. Another game wealthy people play. The words hit like a physical blow. You're saying this was all manipulation? Everything you told me about Claire, about grief, about being alone. Claire was real. My feelings about her are real, but the rest? Harrison's voice was hollow. Yes, it was designed to make you trust me. To make you think you understood me, Olivia laughed, sharp and broken. And your friends are here to collect their winnings? What was the prize? Proof that you're as cynical as you claim? The prize, David said quietly, was always the video footage. Everything inside Olivia went cold. Video footage. Harrison closed his eyes. There are cameras throughout the penthouse, hidden, recording everything. The plan was to use the footage for a documentary about wealth and human behavior. With your consent, after the fact, along with the $1 million as compensation, I never consented. You were going to manipulate me into it. Yes, the admission hung in the air like poison. Olivia's hands shook. Not with fear now, with rage. My brother is dying. I came here desperate, vulnerable, and you turned it into entertainment. I know. Harrison's voice cracked. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't pay for Ethan's treatments. Sorry doesn't undo the last 4 hours where I actually started to believe you might be human. She moved toward the elevator, but Harrison caught her arm. Wait, please. The money is still yours. All of it. No cameras. No documentary. I'll transfer it tonight. Olivia jerked her arm free. You think money fixes this? I think it's all I have to offer. Then you're exactly as empty as you believe everyone else is. She pressed the elevator button. But Thomas stepped forward. There's something else you should know. Harrison didn't just bet on manipulating you. He bet against it. He wagered his friends that he'd fail, that he'd actually start to care and wouldn't be able to go through with the plan. Olivia turned slowly. What? Harrison's expression was anguish incarnate. I thought I had everything figured out. I thought I could prove my point and walk away clean. But somewhere around midnight, something changed. You weren't playing a role. You weren't performing. You were just real. So what? You've developed a conscience? Too late, Harrison. I know. But the money's still yours. $2 million, actually. The bet I made with myself? Ethan gets his treatments. You get your life back. And I get to live with knowing I'm exactly the monster I always feared I was. The elevator doors opened behind Olivia. Freedom, escape, everything she'd wanted, but she didn't move. Why? Her voice broke. Why go through with this at all? Harrison met her eyes, and for the first time all night, she saw him completely unguarded. Because 4 years ago, my wife died hating me. And every day since, I've been trying to prove that love was the anomaly. That everyone else is just playing games, so I'm not the villain of my own story. I'm just a player in a world full of players. And what did you prove tonight? Harrison's smile was devastated. That I'm the only one playing games. Everyone else is just trying to survive. Olivia stepped into the elevator, tears burning her eyes. Be damned, the money will be in your account by morning. I'm sorry. For everything. The doors began to close. And Olivia whispered, I'm sorry too. Because I actually started to care. The elevator descended, taking her back to the world where people didn't play games with emotions for sport, but in the penthouse above, Harrison Blackwell stood alone, finally understanding the cost of his cynicism and knowing he'd pay it. For the rest of his life, 3 weeks passed like ash in the wind. The money appeared in Olivia's account the next morning. $2 million. Blood money. Guilt money. She stared at the numbers until they blurred. Ethan's treatments began immediately. Color returned to his face. Strength returned to his voice. He laughed again. Really laughed. And Olivia should have felt relieved instead. She felt hollow. At night, she replayed the conversation. Harrison's devastated smile. His confession. The rawness in his voice when he said, everyone else was just trying to survive. She hated that she understood him. Hated worse that some part of her had meant it. When she said she cared, then her phone rang at 2 a.m. on a Thursday. Thomas Reinhardt's voice was urgent. Olivia, this is Thomas. Harrison's friend. I need you to come to Evergreen Hospital. It's Harrison. Her heart stopped. What happened? Car accident. He's in surgery now. It's bad. Why are you calling me? Because before they took him in, he kept saying your name. And because there's something you need to know about that night. Something Harrison didn't tell you. 40 minutes later, Olivia stood in a sterile waiting room, coffee cooling in her hands. Thomas sat across from her, exhaustion carved into his face. The bet was my idea, he said quietly. Not Harrison's. What? 6 months ago, Harrison tried to kill himself. Pills. I found him in time. Barely. He was so lost after Claire died. So convinced that nothing real existed anymore. I thought if I could trick him into connecting with someone genuine, it might save him. Olivia's hands shook. So you set up the whole thing? I planted the idea of the bet. Made it sound spontaneous. Even suggested we talk about it in the lounge where you'd overhear. I researched the cleaning staff, found someone with real stakes, real desperation, someone who wouldn't be acting. You manipulated both of us. Yes. And I'm not sorry. Thomas met her gaze. Because it worked. Harrison changed after that night. He donated $50 million to medical research, started therapy, opened Claire's studio for the first time in years. You saved him, Olivia. Even if he broke you in the process, then why is he in surgery? Thomas's expression darkened. Because 3 days ago, he found out the truth. About my manipulation. About how I orchestrated everything. He drove to confront me, wasn't paying attention, and a truck ran a red light. The world tilted sideways. Is he going to die? I don't know. The next few hours will tell. The doctor emerged from surgery, expression grave. The family of Harrison Blackwell. Thomas stood. I'm his emergency contact. He's stable, but there's significant internal bleeding. We've done what we can, but the next 24 hours are critical. He's asking for someone named Olivia. Every instinct screamed at Olivia to run, to protect herself from more pain. But she thought about Ethan, about second chances, about the man who'd been so broken he couldn't see hope anymore. Take me to him. Harrison looked small in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped rhythmically. His eyes opened when she entered, unfocused but aware. You came, he whispered, against my better judgment. Olivia sat beside the bed. Thomas told me everything. About the manipulation, about all of it. About why you tried to end your life. About how he orchestrated that night to save you. Harrison's laugh was weak and bitter. So many people playing God with other people's lives. Including me, including you, Olivia agreed. But here's the thing, Harrison. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of games and manipulation and people using each other as chess pieces. So I'm going to tell you the truth, and you're going to listen. I'm listening. Olivia took a shaky breath. That night changed me too. I spent 3 weeks hating you, hating myself for caring, hating that some part of me understood why you did what you did. And I realized something. We're both so terrified of being hurt that we'd rather burn bridges than risk crossing them. You deserved better than what I gave you. Yes, I did. But you deserved better than what life gave you too. Claire's death. Thomas's manipulation. Your own crushing guilt about trying to buy more time for someone you loved. 8 tears tracked down Harrison's face. I don't know how to be different. Neither do I. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we're both so damaged that trying to be perfect is the real trap. Maybe being broken together is enough. What are you saying? Olivia's voice dropped to something raw and honest. I'm saying I see you, Harrison Blackwell. Not the billionaire. Not the widower. Not the man who tried to manipulate me. I see the person who burns toast and watches terrible sci-fi movies. The person who loved his wife so much he couldn't let her go. The person who's so terrified of being alone that he'll destroy connection before it can destroy him. And what do you see? Someone worth saving. Someone worth the risk. Harrison closed his eyes. I put $2 million in your account. Blood money. Guilt money. But it was also love money, even if I couldn't admit it then. Take it. Take care of Ethan. Live your life. You don't owe me anything. What if I want to owe you something? Olivia reached out, carefully taking his hand. What if I want to be here when you wake up tomorrow? And the day after that? Not because of money or manipulation or guilt, but because somewhere in that terrible night, I met someone real. And I don't want to lose that. You'll regret it. Probably. But I'll regret walking away more. Harrison's grip tightened weakly on her hand. I'm a mess, Olivia. Therapy won't fix everything. I'll probably sabotage this a dozen times before I learn how to trust it. Good thing I'm stubborn. Why would you do this? Risk this. Olivia smiled through tears. Because Ethan asked me something yesterday. He said, if you could have one more day with Mom and Dad, Even knowing you'd lose them again, would you take it? And I said yes, without hesitation. That's what this is, Harrison. A chance at something real, even if it's messy and complicated and might break my heart. What did you tell Ethan? About the money? That someone understood what it meant to love someone enough to make impossible choices. And that sometimes strangers become family in unexpected ways. The machines beeped steadily. Rain began to fall outside the window. Harrison pulled her hand to his chest, over his heart. If I survive this, I'm going to spend every day trying to deserve you. If you survive this, I'm going to spend every day reminding you that you already do. Deal? Olivia leaned forward, pressing a kiss to his forehead. Rest now. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise. Promise. As Harrison drifted into medicated sleep, Olivia sat beside him, holding his hand in the darkness. Outside, the city lights flickered like stars. They had both been broken, both manipulated, both terrified of connection, but somewhere in the wreckage, they'd found something neither, expected something worth fighting for. Something. That might actually be real. Dawn broke over. Seattle in shades of gold and amber, Harrison opened his eyes to find Olivia asleep in the chair beside his bed, her hand still holding his. Her neck was bent at an awkward angle, dark circles under her eyes, hair falling across her face. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. He'd survived the night. The doctor said it was a miracle. Harrison knew better. Miracles were for people who believed in something beyond themselves. He'd survived because Olivia had given him a reason to fight. You're staring, she murmured, eyes still closed. You're still here. I promised I would be. Olivia sat up, wincing. Hospital chairs are murder on the spine. Go home. Get real sleep. I'll be here when you get back, will you? Her eyes opened, searching his face. Because I need to know this is real, Harrison. Not manipulation. Not guilt. Not some dramatic gesture you'll regret when the medication wears off. Harrison reached up with his free hand, gently brushing hair from her face. The touch sent electricity through both of them. I've spent 4 years building walls, convinced that if I kept everyone at a distance, I couldn't be hurt again. Couldn't hurt anyone else. His voice was rough with emotion. But you walked into my penthouse desperate and vulnerable, and instead of playing my game, you saw right through me. You called me on my fear, my self-punishment, my using Claire's memory as an excuse to be alone. Oh, you. That was cruel of me. I was honest. And honesty is the only thing I've wanted since Claire died. Everyone else treats me like I'm fragile or dangerous or a walking checkbook. You treated me like a human being. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I was so angry at you. You had every right to be. I'm still angry. At you, at Thomas, at the whole sick situation. But I'm also tired of letting anger make my decisions. I've spent 4 years being angry at the universe for taking my parents. Angry at insurance companies and medical bills and the unfairness of watching my brother suffer. And somewhere in that anger, I forgot how to hope for anything. Harrison pulled her closer, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Then let's make a deal. A real one this time. No bets. No manipulation. Just 2 broken people trying to build something honest. What kind of deal? I'll go to therapy. Actually commit to it, not just show up to check a box. I'll open Claire's studio and finally deal with her death instead of using it as armor. I'll learn how to trust that not everyone wants something from me. And what do? Harrison's smile was soft and genuine. You let yourself be happy. You let Ethan go to that summer math program. You stop carrying the weight of the world alone. And you let me be part of your life in whatever way feels right. No pressure. No expectations. Just possibility. That's terrifying. Good, that means it's real. The door opened. Thomas entered, looking haggard and guilty. I can come back. No. Harrison gestured him forward. You should hear this too. What you did was manipulative and wrong. You played God with both our lives because you thought you knew better. Thomas nodded, miserable. I know. I'm sorry, but you also saved my life. Twice. Once when you found me with those pills, and again when you forced me to confront the fact that I was drowning in my own cynicism. Harrison's voice softened. I forgive you. Not because what you did was right, but because I understand why you did it. And because I'm too tired to carry more anger, I don't deserve your forgiveness. None of us deserve most of what we get in life, good or bad. But we get it anyway, and we choose what to do with it. Thomas's eyes filled with tears. What happens now? Now you go home, get some sleep. And tomorrow, we figure out how to be real friends instead of co-conspirators in each other's dysfunction. After Thomas left, Olivia leaned her head against Harrison's shoulder. You're really going to do this? The therapy, the honesty, all of it? I'm going to try. I'll probably fail sometimes, probably sabotage things when I get scared. But I'm going to try. Then I'll try too. They sat in silence, watching sunlight fill the room. Outside, the city woke up. People rushed to work. Traffic hummed. Life continued its relentless forward march. But in the hospital room, two people sat still, holding on to each other, and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, broken things could be mended. Harrison. Olivia's voice was soft. Yeah. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for giving me a reason to. 6 months later, Olivia stood in Claire's studio, now transformed into a community art space for underprivileged youth. Harrison had funded it fully, asking only that it bear Claire's name and honor her memory by giving others the creative freedom she'd cherished. Ethan was there, healthy and strong, teaching chess to a group of kids between his summer math program sessions. His laughter filled the space. Harrison appeared beside Olivia, slipping his hand into hers. She would have loved this. Claire. Yeah, she always said art was about connection, about being vulnerable enough to show people who you really are. You're doing that now? Being vulnerable. Harrison pulled Olivia closer. I have a good teacher. How's therapy going? Hard, painful, necessary? He smiled. Dr. Martinez says I'm making progress. Says I'm learning to separate love from control, trust from transaction, and are you? Getting there. Some days are better than others. But I have motivation now. He turned to face her fully. You were right that night. I was punishing myself. Using Claire's death as proof that love was dangerous, that connection would only end in loss. But the truth is, loss is guaranteed. The only question is whether we love anyway. Olivia reached up, touching his face. And I choose love. Every day. Even when it's terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying. He kissed her then, gentle and real and full of promise. Not the fairy tale ending of two perfect people finding each other, but the complicated beginning of two broken people choosing to heal together when they pulled apart. Ethan was watching them with a knowing smile. You two are disgustingly cute, says the kid who writes love poems in math class, Olivia shot back. That was one time, and you've promised never to mention it. Harrison laughed, the sound free and genuine. He looked around the studio, at the kids creating art, at Ethan teaching chess, at Olivia beside him radiating warmth and strength. This was what Claire would have wanted. Not for him to be alone. Not for him to punish himself. But for him to live? To connect. To let people in despite the risk. What are you thinking? Olivia asked. That I bet $1 million I was unlovable. And I'm glad I lost. You didn't lose. We both won. Yeah. Harrison pulled her close. We did. Outside, rain began to fall, washing the city clean. Inside, surrounded by laughter and art and the messy beauty of human connection, two people who had both been lost found their way home. Not to perfection. Not to easy answers or simple happiness, but to something real, something honest, something worth every risk they'd taken to find it. And in the end, that was enough. The end.